What's going on, everybody? My name is Aiden and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, amongst reading more articles in relation to the Chicago Bulls, trying to find specific videos, ideas, and trying to find what many other people think about the Chicago Bulls, this is the time to figure out what the majority of people, analysts, reporters, whoever it may be, truly thinks about this Bulls team as we head into a very big season where things can either be proven right or proven wrong. There's an article that has been shown, I'm not necessarily sure who it's by, I think it's just called NBA Scouting Live, that suggests the Chicago Bulls and their preview to the upcoming season, basically suggesting who our star players are, what are our expected starting lineups to look like, and ultimately where are the Chicago Bulls heading in this upcoming season. There is a lot to like, a lot to dislike as well, ladies and gentlemen. So, without further ado, let us discuss, I guess, what to expect from the Chicago Bulls team in this upcoming season, at least according to this article. But before we get any further, if you like the video and you want to see more from me, drop a like, drop a follow, and or subscribe if you are new, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the preview of the Chicago Bulls that this article suggests, and ultimately, do you agree or do you disagree, and what's your preview looking like for this upcoming Bulls season? In many ways, this is actually a very exciting time for the Chicago Bulls. I know a lot of us are expecting to have a bad season, and that may turn out to be the case, but at least it's going to be a season of direction, and sometimes you need to have those bad seasons in order to point your direction into something that could be beautiful. So with that being said, the first thing we need to discuss is what are the star players for the Chicago Bulls. Now, this outlet has basically suggested there is no star player in this Chicago Bulls team at the moment. They have specified that we have talented offensive players in Coby White, Nikola Vucevic, Zach LaVine at this point in time. But since there is no star player, and since the offense of all three guys are dramatically different from each other, it doesn't fully optimize the offensive end for the Chicago Bulls. Wow. It's a very big statement, but you know what? I actually agree with this statement. Now, of course, the closest player we have to a superstar on this team is Zach LaVine, and he's paid a max contract to be our superstar player. But the last couple of seasons for Zach LaVine has proven, at least to me, that he's not quite at that level yet. Now, can he ever get to that level? I think staying healthy is the most important thing for Zach LaVine in order to turn into a superstar or become the closest aspect to a superstar that we have. But I think that caliber of player is up in the air. Someone could grab that caliber of superstardom, someone can grab that quality and never let go of it. Guys like Coby White, I think, has the potential. Guys like Patrick Williams, I don't think he has the potential, but you never know at this stage in his career. Io, Zach LaVine himself, I don't think it's dead and buried that he can never ever be an all-star caliber, potential superstar caliber player in the league, but right now it's not looking likely. I do agree with this assessment. I don't think the Bulls have a superstar right now on their team, but it is very important to note that that level is still up in the air, and that level can be obtained by someone on this roster, and that is what I really want to keep in mind. But I think that's a very fair assessment. We do have very skillful offensive talent, and yes, they don't necessarily work well together. We have seen that over the multiple seasons when we had DeMar DeRozan in the team as well. So we'll see how this season fares for those three individuals, and we'll see who comes in and turns out to be that superstar quality player if we actually get that superstar quality player. They mentioned obviously the positives of some of our additions and some of our, of course, taking them away. We've kind of already went into detail about this. We got Josh Giddey, Bazelis, Jalen Smith, Chris Duarte. We let go of DeRozan and Caruso, Drummond, Javonte Green. We understand that. I'm not going to go too much in detail about that. I want to quickly turn into what our projected starting lineup is according to this article. And it's quite an interesting lineup. So, starting at the point guard position, it is not actually Josh Giddey. It's going to be Coby White. Now, Coby White was a most improved candidate last season, and I do expect him to be a starting player for the Chicago Bulls this season. Now, it's going to be interesting how the offensive end fares, but one thing I do feel like is Coby White will be a starter in that aspect. Obviously, since Zach LaVine looks like he's going to be staying in the Chicago Bulls team, you expect him to be starting in the shooting guard position. That is natural for him. He is a very talented shooting guard at his best. He's a fantastic scorer at his best. He'll be coming into this season with a point to prove as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing if Zach LaVine can thrive in a new offensive system. And then we've got the player that we traded for in Josh Giddey moving to the forward position. Now, just because you see him as the forward in this team does not mean he's going to be an off-ball type of player. I believe he'll be more of the point forward that we are seeking in this Bulls team, with the ability to allow two very talented scorers in Kobe and Zach playing off of him. And I think that's where most likely it's going to go, with the ball responsibility landing in Giddey's hands and from time to time Kobe White and Zach LaVine's hands. We'll see how it fares, but just because you see a small forward, because let's be honest, when he was actually a small forward for the OKC Thunder, that's where his worst position really was. He didn't defend that position well, and since he was more of an off-ball character, he just didn't end up thriving in that system. I do expect him to have much more ball handling responsibilities, but I do see him being a forward. I agree with this, I guess, starting five thus far. The power forward position, Patrick Williams, he's made that position his own over the last couple of seasons with his ability to have a good season in terms of the 3-and-D categories. He may not be the superstar that we're expecting him to be, but I think he could be a very good player that could come in and play his role really well. Now, whether or not he takes the next steps and has a more responsibility in terms of his role, that remains to be seen. But he can produce, I guess, well for what he's expected to do as a 3-and-D forward. And then obviously you got Nikola Vucevic. I don't think there's any arguments here. Let's be honest, the caliber of center dramatically falls when you get rid of Nikola Vucevic on this team. I know a lot of people like to roast him, but let's be honest, if Nikola Vucevic got traded tomorrow, our center position is going to be a big problem. I really believe that. But again, it's a problem we might want at this point in time. So I'm not saying we should never get rid of him, but let's be honest, he's by far the most talented center on this team at the moment, and he is a double-double threat at any given point in time, and he is a very good offensive player, whether you like to admit it or not. So overall, this starting five, I do agree, will be our starting five heading into the season, but you got to have a mental note that there is a possibility that Vucevic and LaVine could both be traded before the season's end. So let's just say hypothetically those two players do get traded. I do expect Ayo to come into the starting lineup. And I also expect Jalen Smith from the center position to come into the starting lineup, and we'll have a very undersized team, but again, it's a team that we might be able to work with there for the future. And that's what I think will happen. But obviously key bench guys like Ayo, Jalen Smith, Torrey Craig, Javon Carter, and Bazelis. Yes, of course, those are all our forwards and our backup players. Guys like Dalen Terry, I feel like got ignored a little bit in this one. Julian Phillips, guys like Batim. There's a lot that we have to wait and see about. Of course, we are forgetting Lonzo Ball as well. Let's not forget about him. They mentioned our head coach in Billy Donovan. Ultimately, this is going to be a very big proving season for Billy Donovan. There's been rumors that he doesn't want to be part of a rebuilding team. There's also a proving ground for him for other teams, because he's not had a great time for the Chicago Bulls. If he wants to go to another winning environment, I think he needs to prove himself in a season like this, maybe overachieve a little bit so he can get a better opportunity in the future. So it's a proving season for Billy Donovan, and what he can do as a coach with a brand new assistant coaching team behind him. We'll wait and see how he can end up faring, but this is definitely a proving season. And the basic outlook for this team at the moment, they are expected to go 30-52 according to this article, and to finish 12th in the Eastern Conference. And I do agree with that as well, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot I agree with in this article. And look, it's harsh to say. I do expect a lot of, I guess, young guys to really shine for this Bulls team, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be in a winning season. I think 30 wins is pretty much where we're expected to be. Finishing 12th in the Eastern Conference, I think, is where we're expected to be. Now, can we make the play-in tournament? Yes, we can. I've said it before. I think the East is dramatically worse this season. I honestly don't see the Eastern Conference being that competitive compared to the West. I think you'll have one or two dominating teams, and I think everybody else is not going to be that good and probably won't have a chance in the Eastern Conference. That's honestly how I feel. Regardless of that fact, finishing 10th is a very real possibility for the Bulls, but finishing 12th, getting those 30 wins, I expect that to be where the Bulls are this upcoming season. But is that the bad thing? Overall, is that a bad thing for the Chicago Bulls? Some call it, I guess, incompetence, how this season, his offseason has went. I actually think it's the brightest point. I think it's an eye-opening season that we're going to be looking at, and hopefully the Bulls can see their future really shine after this season. Let's hope that's what we want at the end of the day. What do you guys think? Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more. Take care. and peace.